Determination to change the nation, I'm manifesting the truth. Back in the booth to give you the messages that's been channeling right through me. No, I'm not Jesus, although my spirit is great. I'm eating my food without a plate, escaping this place through my meditations. New life begun when I reloaded the gun and realized where I was from was not too far from the sun. Like somewhere close by the moon. Now I'm connected like Zoom. On walks of life that ever lived, call me like out of the blue. So I just pass it to you, right through your speakers with clues. And if you choose to free your mind, then you will have all the tools. But I can't make you take it and shake it and mentally break yourself out. Cause freeing your mind without a doubt is something you have to try out. But once you see the light, your might, and all the power you've had, then you have reached the fifth dimension and you can brighten your path. But others who choose to follow the red pills, it's harder to swallow. Or you can wallow in your sorrows, feeling all empty and hollow. The only way you'll see the truth is if it's starting with you. So please stop lying to yourself, start being truthful to you. The only way you'll see the truth is if it's starting with you. So please stop lying to yourself, start being truthful to you, to you. Yo. What's up? So we popping in. You know, that's why I changed it from Sunday sermons to sermon, because we'll pop in on a Wednesday to talk to y'all. And so today I got some educational people here. They're going to be teaching us about the understanding Omaha's consent decree, to the decree. So it's something that the mayor talked about a lot. I'm not smart enough or educated enough on it to talk about it. So when you don't know something, it's about the people you do know that do know. And so one thing about me is you can say whatever. I just lean on the people who I know that know stuff that I don't know. And I'm not ashamed to admit when I don't know something. I'm not going to lead people to the fake muddy water when I don't know if it's real water or not. So, hey, Brianna. Thank you, Brother Blaze. Yeah, that song is from an album I released in 2021, and it's just about truth. And so my son made that intro. And, you know, I get these notifications saying that the owner of the song is sharing the credit with you. Well, I'm the owner of that song, and my son made the beat, so we get the credit on that song. So without any further ado, I want to bring on my guest today. One of them is my sister Clarice, who's been in the trenches with me. This girl is so smart, and she ain't afraid to show up for anything. So I'm going to bring her on right quick. There she go. Hey.
Hi, y'all. How are you doing? Thank you for bringing me on, Sherman.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then my brother from another mother. You know, we got that short man complex, so we get mad real easy. We don't play no games. So, you know, then plus I got a big old head, so my head ain't big for nothing. I'm thinking and I'm always strategizing. So my brother Anthony, I'm going to bring him on too. There you go. You muted. Oh, can't hear you. Nope. Let me see. You was muted earlier. All right. Hey, Miss Travis. Our day is going well. Good afternoon, Miss Daly. Miss Williams. Yep. No, we still cannot. Nope. Let me see. Yeah, you're not muted. While we wait for Anthony to get his mic unmuted, or whatever's going on with the mic, we'll let Clarice just talk about who she is and what she do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Clarice Dombeck. I am a long-term resident of Omaha. I grew up in North Omaha, spent my entire life here. I've been a community organizer for going on 5 years now in a couple of different capacities. I would say that my community organizing in Omaha started during Black Lives Matter, when myself and another student at UNO formed a student group that was specifically focused on bringing Black Lives Matter issues to the campus on UNO, because that wasn't happening. After that, I was involved as a volunteer with the Justice for James protest that was led by Jakeem Fox. And then I went on to organize a community garden in North Omaha on North 24th Street called Healing Roots African Diaspora Garden. We've been there for 5 years now. So that's a little bit about myself personally. And then professionally, I work for this nonprofit organization called the Redress Movement. We are a new nonprofit. We've been around for 2 years. We are new to Omaha. We've been in Omaha for about 6 months. And what we do is work on housing justice issues that specifically impact the Black community. And we, like I said, have been doing work in Omaha for about 6 months now. And a part of that work is that we have a roundtable, which is made up of community members. There's some partner organizations too that have been coming together to strategize around creating solutions for housing issues that Black and Brown communities in Omaha are facing, going all the way back from redlining to looking at issues like slumlords who are taking advantage of the Black and Brown community in our neighborhoods. So that's a little bit about myself and a little bit about the organization that I work for.
All right. Yeah, and we definitely dealing with some slumlords. Brother Anthony,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. Yes. Yeah,
All
I was
right.
saying that. Yeah, you and I have got that.
Introduction of yourself here.
Yeah, in addition to sharing that Black Napoleonic complex with you, and I'm pleased to be calling you here from our comrades and Afro-Colombians in Santiago de Cali, sending y'all heat and warmth from here. But Anthony Carifa Rogers Wright, I use he and his pronouns, originally from New York City. First got to Omaha in 2017. I can't believe how long it's been, and started an organization with my dear brother Graham Christensen called Regenerate Nebraska, bringing together urban and rural farmers and really trying to flip the situation as it pertains to food justice and really getting off of this industrial ag model and implementing what we call food sovereignty. Worked on a few local and federal campaigns based out of Omaha, Nebraska. We won't go into that now. It's kind of triggering. But in the meantime, mainly doing local, state, national, and international environmental and climate liberation work, which brings me to Colombia, Ecuador, Europe, throughout the continent, the Caribbean, and really hoping to bring a lot of those environmental justice advocacy and education to Omaha, which is home now, after leaving and coming back. It's kind of like a black hole, literally and figuratively. Y'all can't get rid of me, though some would like that. And really happy just to be here with people like you and Clarice who are unapologetic, about, these situations. And, like I say to you all the time, Big Sherm, like I don't do Nebraska nice. When it comes to injustice, especially of our people, there's nothing to be nice about. We've tried that. We've tried the respectability politics. It's not serving us. And I think that brings us to where we are now. Right. When we get into it, it was a lot of respectability politics that have a long-term cost for our people who are now suffering, as Clarice named, bad landlords. I don't even want to call them bad, just call them slumlords. That's what they are. And unfortunately, they have a lot of latitude, and they get away with stuff that, you and I, none of us would get away with if we did business this way. So, happy to really get into it, talk about what our options are as we get closer to, what I think is going to be one of the most, we hear it all the time, but the most important municipal elections in a generation for the city of Omaha.
Yeah. And Sister Bree, yes, this will still be posted on my page. I'll share it to Anthony's page and Clarice's page for any of their people that want to watch it. So yeah, we jumping right on in because the whole slumlord thing in Omaha it's been unaddressed. And like you said, we're not being apologetic, we're not being nice about it. I made a video earlier, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, on how to deal with demons. And so there's a new bloodline in North Omaha. We got time today. I raised all my kids. I don't have that worry. And so we have time to address, and not only address, but we're bringing the community the information y'all need to be educated on making decisions when it's time to go to those polls. So without further ado, I want to bring up a chart that Brother Anthony sent me, and we'll go over that real quick briefly, because the mayor kept mentioning she can't go against the consent decree. And she kept talking about, oh, there's a video on YouTube, and I know it shows all this, but I can't go. And that video on YouTube is the one that me and Clarice did a walkthrough, and Robert Wagner, there's a couple other people with us, and then Chrome did his own. And so we were there as a request from the community to come check out the conditions, because, you know, they could tell us, but in order to see it for ourselves, we wanted to go see and bring it to y'all live. Because one thing I've learned when dealing with these people, so like with OHA, they told me the videos I was sending or posting were old, and so I wanted to make sure we did it real time, so you can't say it's old, and we could see that it was all that day, right on time. So Brother Anthony, go ahead and let you start with this part here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, you know, and I just want to say that this was quick and dirty. You know, we all saw the mayor's press conference. I believe that was yesterday. And I think that one of the things that really frustrate everybody right now, Clarice included, was this idea that, all right, and Sherm, I mean, we were just trying to help this other sister who was kind of, you know, I think 4 or 5 months pregnant, who was living in just execrable conditions, black mold while pregnant, you know, rodents and whatnot. Yeah. And basically she was told, you have to bounce, you have to leave because this place is not habitable anymore. And there not being a mechanism to help these folk find a new place. I mean, you know, for people who have moved around, it's not easy, right? I mean, you know, just it's like a job just looking for a place to live. Then you got to have first month's deposit, you know, that's close to like $3,500. And then, yeah, even if you do have homies, you know, it's still a lot to move, right? And then, you know, in a situation like that, when you have bed bugs and mold, you're not trying to bring that furniture into your new house because you're just going to, your new place is going to get infested. So, you know, I would say a conservative estimate is like, it takes about $5,000, you know, to move. And you're supposed to have that up front. We know that most people in the United States of America right now, you know, if they have an emergency that costs $1,000 or more, they're in big trouble. They don't have that, you know, disposable income, as we like to call it, in their bank account. So the mayor's talking about, you know, these inspections can't happen. Those inspections can't happen. We've also wondered why people like yourself and our dear brother, I call him our VP, Vanilla Paul Feldman, but that's VP, our Vanilla Paul, has been told, no, you can't go into these homes and essentially legally do these independent inspections. And it's really interesting because when we go back into the story, it's something that started off really positive. I mean, it's not very often that we can say we're proud of our city council, but in this case, the story starts where our city council actually did something pretty good. And this is ordinance number 40565 that was passed back in 2015. And essentially, it was going after all these dilapidated properties and vacant lots that were just, you know, not being utilized and left to like decay, causing blight in our community, specifically North and South Omaha. So the city, you know, council came together and were like, nah, if you are going to not take care of your properties, you know, we're going to fine you. Essentially, we're going to make you register these properties, and we're going to either make you do something with them or, you know, sell them to somebody who's going to. I don't know how often this has happened, right? Like, I mean, there's been maybe a few city budgets, but that ordinance passed 7-0. Okay. So, I mean,
is it okay if I make a comment on that real quick? Yeah. Okay. Just to say, it wasn't city council that did this on their own. This was because of pressure from housing advocates and neighborhood advocates that saw these deteriorating properties in their neighborhoods and got together with nonprofit organizations and lawyers and Legal Aid of Nebraska and a number of other organizations to put pressure on city council to do this.
Okay, good. Yep. All right.
Oh, I appreciate that intervention. Very, very important because Clarice is right. It's not like this all 7 city council members like got visited by the ghost of Black Jesus and we're like, "Yay, we're gonna do something right." So
it kind of reminds me of Vivian's street renaming when we went down there and got it done. They ran a news article as the city decided to rename the street, but it wasn't the city. It was
That's right. But I think Clarice's point is also really instructive because, you know, as we're going into these municipal elections, it shows that the way we got a 7-0 vote was because the city came together, right? And that is really, really, really instructive because, like, you know, like where I come from in New York, there's like 100 city council members. So like, it's really, really hard to get the city together. Like we have that ability to do that. So here's an example of what we did. Now, but you know, but to Clarice's point, you know, all that glitters is not gold. Now, the original ordinance that was passed was, of course, littered with a few amendments that weakened it a bit because, as you can imagine, landlords and developers and property owners came together and started to flex a bit. And we know, you know, and we can just go back in time, and someone should probably do the research. You know, we've got the Nebraska Accountability website that shows who's donated to candidates. And at the municipal and county level, we know that big money are coming from developers and landowners, right? So somehow they were able to influence this. And essentially the amendments, you know, before it even went to a city council vote, you know, it included things that essentially, like, you know, weakened it, you know, somewhat. Nonetheless, you know, it passes, right? So then we move on right after it passes, set to go into effect later that year. I believe the ordinance passed in October. Then we get to November, and this is where we have, and I messed it up, I apologize, in the chart. It actually should be MOPOA, not MPOA. And MOPOA stands for the Metropolitan Omaha Properties Association. And, you know, as you can guess, this is essentially a group of landowners and property owners who came together, formed like Voltron, and like, we're going to stop this. Okay, like, we don't want this to happen because it's going to cost us money. And we know how landlords are. They like to make money, and they certainly don't like to spend money, which is why so many of our tenants, you know, especially poor and working class people of all races, you know, have so many problems getting their properties repaired. So they filed this lawsuit. And essentially, instead of going to, I think it's really, really important. MOPOA used a Black man to be the face of this lawsuit. Okay, used a Black to be the face of this lawsuit, who was a you know, I think he owned 1 or 2 properties. I don't like to dox Sherm, so I just want to get your consent before I use the gentleman's name, because you know, I don't, you know, we don't, that's not how we operate. Sherm, if you want to talk to the person,
Clarice, what you want to say about that part right there?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you want to say about that? You know, using that man and how it started like that?
Oh, I didn't have anything in particular to say. I was just happy that Anthony pointed that out. And I mean, I guess I will say that, and this is me making an assumption, I'm assuming that MOPOA is a largely white male dominated association. And I don't want to get too much into things that I've heard about MOPOA, because this is just hearsay. But if you were to say attend a meeting that's being hosted by MOPOA, you might hear some things about them saying how they're at war with their tenants, that they have stories from the battlefield, and that they left their gun in the car this time to come into this meeting. So these are not folks who are friendly towards their tenants. These are not people who own property as a way to, you know, just try to make a little bit of money. They're doing this because they want to have power over people, you know.
Right. And I do want to acknowledge Sister Remy Dortch. We love you, sister, and we appreciate you doing what you did to get the ball rolling on this thing. And you're a brave sister, and we're here for you. So you was asking if it's okay to drop the person's name? Because I mean, if it's public record, I really don't care.
I was going to try to be slick and say the first and last name are named after two presidents, not very great ones, but their name is Roosevelt Lee. That is the name of the person, the black man who was essentially the face to Clarice's point of the Mopoa lawsuit. Now, rather than go to court, they agreed on what's known as a consent decree. Black people are very familiar with this terminology in the sense that we commonly hear the term consent decree as it pertains to cops, and particularly cops that are brutalizing and assassinating and lynching our people. And so rather than go to court, I guess the best way to characterize a consent decree is that it is essentially, a settlement out of court, right? That is public, right? The terms of the consent decree is public. And basically the way it works is that the parties involved in the dispute agree to the terms of the decree. A judge, in this case, it was a federal U.S. judge, approves the decree and makes it binding and enforceable. And this is where we get into some problems, because the decree essentially is what brings us to where we are now, in the sense of like inspections are staggered over 10 years, or it takes a lot to get the inspections, and the city has to perform the inspections after a tenant has complained. And this is where it gets a little scary as well. The tenants have to use their name. They have to be recorded as doing so. Now, we're going to hear all this stuff. Clarice has heard it. You've heard it, Sherm. Retaliation is illegal. Yeah, of course it's illegal. But come on. We know that the landlords will take some form of revenge against that tenant. If they have the power to basically overturn a 7-0 ordinance, they have the power to harass a tenant who may step up, or in some cases won't step up because they don't want to go through that by themselves, right?
And then when you look at retaliation,
exactly,
you got to think of the things that they know is legal, and they'll do it once you say something. So just like with Remy, they start threatening her. I had a tenant one time who told me he had bed bugs and stuff, and the next week he had a letter about his back rent. Like, so there's things that they can do that they'll say, this ain't retaliation. But you wasn't saying nothing until the person told on you that there was issues with their property. Okay. So we know that it's illegal. They've been busted. OHA have been busted retaliating against people, because then when they come tell me, then I go right to their office. But as the voice for the people, when we know about it, then we take it on. So that way that person don't have to expose it. So a lot of the times that you seen last summer and going forward with OHA was us speaking up for the tenants based off what they were telling us, because they were in fear of retaliation.
Exactly. So. And Clarice, just keep cutting me off when you want to, fam.
I do have a question. I do have a question around the consent decree. So this is something that is, legal now, right? Is there any way to be able to undo it is the question that I have.
This is, I knew you were going to ask this question, and it's the first one that I asked. Fam, it is very, very hard, because essentially we are at the mercy of the district judge that is overseeing it. These things can take 6 to 11, sometimes 15 years before the judge decides, okay, we don't need it anymore because all of the terms have been satisfied. And so I would say that, like, to expedite it, we would probably have to find out who this U.S. judge is and basically say the consent decree is not being adhered to, and the judge would have to step in. So it's just like another step in the process that tired people, poor people, working people who are already, just at their wits' end, they may not have the ability to do that. That said, I would say we should look into it. You're speaking to our dear sister Kate, a former Creighton law professor, and I'm glad you brought her up when we were chatting on Facebook, because y'all, she had the best line, I think the best quote, when she was talking about why she was against the consent decree. She said, quote, allowing the regulated, in this case, the landlords, to be putting the regulations in place is a recipe for disaster. So in other words, letting the people who to be, when do we ever get to do that? When do we ever get to be like, this is how we want to be ruled over or whatnot? These landlords were able to do that. And that's why I refer to it as a Faustian agreement. Because here's the thing, to Clarice's point. Even though the consent decree was passed, if y'all remember what happened with York Housing, that horrible situation where essentially, not York, Yale Park Apartments, right? This is going back to 2019. You know, we saw 500 refugee tenants had to be evacuated. So the city council said, nah, we're gonna step in and try to do something about this. In a 4-3 vote based on pressure, as Clarice named earlier, the city council said, landlords, you have to register your properties starting in 2020, and we're going to ramp up the inspections because we can never let what happened at Yale happen again. They couldn't do it because of the consent decree. MOPOA sued and said that ordinance, would be in violation of the consent decree. So it actually never happened because, the city pulled back or they lost in court. I want
to just make sure that we're breaking it down so they know the consent decree. I'm going to just read your note. The consent decree overhauled the city housing code enforcement and requires specific complaints to be filed before the city can inspect the property. So that's why you kept hearing her say that the video that I put up on YouTube, she couldn't do nothing. And without the tenants, she said less than 20% of the tenants have filed their own complaint, which means they couldn't go in and just look unit by unit. They can only check the units that the people is reporting, giving their name and their unit number. The changes included in the landlord association settlement will create more specific timelines for property owners in violation of a building code to fix the problem. It would also create standard operating procedures for code inspectors to follow. So that's why, even though they can see it, they won't go in and say nothing. And so with OHA having the 37 tenants, my question then becomes, if you're getting paid from the feds and to house these people and you got your own inspectors, are these inspectors not going in and seeing the condition that the tenants that you are, having in these units? Then y'all not going back reporting it to OHA or to the city that, hey, we got this, and this issue that we're seeing? Or are we just, everybody's ignoring it for the money? Now
I'd have to check into that because OHA, of course, are not private landlords, right? Like City View, these are those horrible people. And thank you again, Sherm, for doxing them. But to Clarice's point, MOPOA, they're not even all local to Omaha, right? These could be out of state real estate developers who own the property but join MOPOA because they own property in Omaha, but they don't live in Omaha. In the case of City View, these cats all live in Miami, living it up in Miami. I think OHA might be a different situation because they're not private landlords, but we'll have to check on that. That's why Clarice and I are going to be talking.
Only because they got 37 people living in City View. And so Paul is saying, what about lawsuits against the landlords?
So, I mean, look, I mean,
are they protected by this decree then?
So this is, I think with the consent decree, that has nothing to do with a private right of action, right? So a tenant can bring about a private right of action, but again, I mean, look, I know that, Legal Aid, big up, ACLU, big up. We saw the brother Dave Pantos give a pretty good interview the other day. But like at the same time, the recommendation was, keep all your notes, keep all, and whatnot. It's not something that's automatic, right? That provides for immediate relief, So private tenants can sue their landlords, but it takes a lot. I mean, you got to get an attorney. That costs money. You got to throw down,
which is almost
a retainer fee
because we had to get it from Iowa, and then you got to think about the initial lease agreement that they signed for security for the property. You're now not following that agreement, okay? And to about the security, I know she kept mentioning that the security walked away, blah blah blah. But the security they had a contract. Not only did they fulfill the whole contract and stay during the time of the contract, they didn't get paid. So they're suing City View for over $100,000. But if you've been collecting this money for security, where was the money going? Because clearly it wasn't going to the security company. So
that's right. Look, and some leases, they do say that the security deposit is technically supposed to go into a bank account where it can accrue interest and whatnot. But we all know how it is. I mean, in many situations when we deal with bad landlords and we know we're moving out, we just don't pay the last month and we bounce, and they keep the security deposit, because sometimes the landlords will go, they see a hole in the wall where you put your picture, they'll try to deduct that. And then the only way you can get your security deposit back again is to file a private right of action. And who has time for this? I mean, this takes out a lot of time, a lot of emotional and mental stress, as well. So, I mean, look, me, Sherm, and Clarice is getting to know me a bit better. I mean, this might call for some street type stuff. I mean, we have formations like the Omaha Tenants Union, and I know it's scary. It was scary for workers. It was scary for Black workers. But I mean, we might just have to think about what it would look like to have a massive rent strike, because and dare the city to evict everybody. That's going to take a long time, but that really requires tenant unions and people sticking together, because we know how fractured our communities can be.
Mm-hmm.
Landlords find 1 or 2 or 3 tenants and make a deal with them, it can blow up the entire solidarity. But that's where I am. I mean, I'm kind of done with a legal system that wasn't written for us, wasn't written by us, and really is not designed to get us justice.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Omaha Tenants United, because we are in the process of talking with them. We're also in talks with Omaha Autonomous Action as well. So, and then if y'all not familiar, Omaha Autonomous Action would be one of those organizations that could be one of many organizations that could help provide some of that immediate relief and direct support to tenants at City View that aren't getting it right now. And then also, just to add on to what you were saying, just we don't get tired. We are not tired. It's 2025. It's a new year. And the reason why we're not tired is because we're doing this collectively with the rest of our community. Me, you, and Sherman is not going to be the only ones carrying this on. I can't tell you the number of inboxes and messages that I've been getting from people like, hey, how can I help? Let me know when I need to pull up. What support can I offer? I found out this, that, and the next information. It's like we're doing it together in 2025. We're building community and coalitions that reach beyond, like what you were saying, that reach beyond the regular legal process, and that is really built grassroots through people power.
Yeah,
that's right.
And it's 100%. Like she said, I've gotten so many messages and I've turned to so many people for information. There's no way we could do this alone, but just because you see just the 3 of us now, trust me, it's a lot of people involved, writing letters, doing the stuff on the back end to help get this done. So man,
and we're not afraid of the cold either. You know what I'm saying?
We're
because
not afraid of the cold.
we sell it. We do our Black History Month parades in the shortest, coldest month of the year. So we're good with the cold. We got our in the hood sweatshirts. So
I want to look at that 2019 thing you got there. It says City Council passes proactive inspection policy 4-3 with strings attached to prevent mayoral veto.
Okay, so this is after the Yale apartment fiasco. This is what I was talking about. The City Council came together and basically it was 4-3, but 4-3, as we know, is not veto proof. You need at least 5 City Council members to vote. So the mayor essentially made a deal with the City Council members to not veto it, and she signed that in exchange for staggered inspections starting in 2022 and every 10 years thereafter. Okay, so I mean, basically giving a ball to MOPOA. Here's the thing. This brings us back to the consent decree. That wasn't good enough for MOPOA. They sued that and said that violates the consent decree. And then just to get to the next thing in 2019, MOPOA was just like, we're done with all of this. They filed a lawsuit to get rid of the entire ordinance. They were just like, let's just cut the head off. Okay, so unfortunately, our city council members, as far back as 2015, made a bad agreement with a bad faith formation that really had no interest except for, as Clarice named earlier, to keep making their money at the expense of these folks. So, I don't know what we do about MAPOA. I don't know what we do about this consent decree, and that's why I was saying we have to imply. I'll just be diplomatic and call them a diversity of tactics.
Yeah, and Paul said the same lawyers that's taking action against OHA are willing to represent tenants in City View. And I do want to pull up what Von Chapman said. Consent orders are court orders and legally binding on the parties involved. Breaching the consent order may be considered as a breach of court order, hence contempt of court. Parties need to show change in circumstances or reasonable cause for altering the consent orders. Okay. So, I mean, and that's why we wanted to come on here and talk to y'all about it. But again, after I did the walkthrough and went straight to the mayor's office after I changed and showered and all that, I was told that there was an animal that was in that building that was removed because of the conditions. Okay. And the mayor consistently says, so it just shows, they care more about the animals than the people. And then the mayor said that she can't address rumors on social media, but when the rumor was about her that she was on a plane during the ice storm, she addressed it fully, like got on social media and made a huge long post about it. So again, that's the reason why she got to go, because we can't operate on your emotional responses. But then when we talking about people, you say we have no obligation to help them. I can't respond to what y'all saying. It has to be based off this consent decree, and then you want to throw in the legal stuff. So again, when did we as humans get past making sure we're taking care of other humans? Mm-hmm. When did the city of Omaha become the money pot and not the human respect for humans and how they are living? But we can remove a dog and say, hey, this ain't good enough for this dog. So
I mean, we got people dying in the street of the cold, right? I mean, as we just found out, which is horrible. We've seen reports of people turning their ovens on to stay warm, which is exposing them to gas in a very, very dangerous, situation. Mm-hmm. And it's like you said, like this mayor wants to show up when it's convenient, like reacting to that rumor, like that episode of Punk when it was black people, it's punked, that's when she's gonna, and this is why I think that is really, really important, especially City Council District 2, we've got to come out in the primary in big numbers. Big numbers, because whoever makes it to the second round of the mayoral race, if they see that we came out in big numbers and that they will need those same numbers in order to win, then we can press them and say, well, if you want our votes, right, this is what we're going to need. You do this, Clarice, you do this, Sherman, on the regs, but like doing that as a community, because as my mentor teaches me, demands without consequences are impotent. So they've got to see, but if it's only like 2,000 of us, 3,000 of us coming out in the primary, they're going to be like, we don't need to listen to them because they don't vote. So that would be my closing message. If like for nothing else, it doesn't matter. CCD2, we've got like a baseball team of candidates right now, 2 Harlem Globetrotter teams, and whatnot. But it doesn't matter who you vote for. Just come out and vote, please, and get those numbers, jack those numbers up, so that for the mayoral race, whoever it's between the final two, they have to listen to us if they want to win. And if we can show them that, we can probably get a lot further and get more of our demands met.
Clarice,
final thoughts is, again, we're doing this together in community in 2025. So I'm super proud and grateful for everybody who tuned into this live, and to everybody who's been liking, commenting, sharing information about City View. And that stuff is important. We got to keep this in everyone's awareness. We're not going to let them try to brush this under the rug or just move on to a new issue a few weeks later. It's like, no, we just need to keep this pressure on them. And if you are interested in getting involved, reach out to Sherman, reach out to me, and believe me, we'll find a place for y'all to be in this movement.
Mm-hmm. And just to finalize and summarize, the whole point was to let y'all know that this the consent decree was something that was put in place that allows the landlord to have these procedures done before we can go after them for the issues, right? So you have to understand that, and then understand that that's what the mayor is hiding behind, okay? And so for us, we are putting together an event where we are going to barbecue for City View. That's right. We're going to draw the people out because Clarice went back to take somebody some food the other day and they wouldn't let us in. They got the Omaha police being their security, and some new lady from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, she was blocking us from going up to take this brother some food that Sister Clarice had prepared for him. So instead of us keep trying to go in a building, we're going to draw them out with the food. Okay, we don't always share the full details of what we're doing, but when you see how big my head is and the rest of us, we have plans once we get them out. But we don't share all the plans, but we just want to let y'all know that we will be having food. I'm working on the budget today so I can collect this money. I have people already asking to donate. Sister Juanita Johnson already wants to donate like a couple $100. So what we're going to do is put together the barbecue for City View, right? And we're going to draw them out, and then we're going to handle our business, because like Clarice said, this ain't going to be something we just going to let fall to the wayside. We're going to get them people help one way or another, and we're going to do it collectively as a community and as a unit. And I love y'all and appreciate everybody who's been contacting us. Brother Anthony, who sent me this today, and I said, hey man, let's just do a quick live. Sister Clarice, who joined me earlier today, we had a very good productive meeting today. And so we're putting a lot of stuff into place, but we just don't share all that part. But we are going to share that we are having this barbecue for City View, and just be looking out for the flyer. I'll make it here pretty soon. Once I get the finalized budget on what I think it's going to cost to feed a couple hundred people, and then we out of there. So we'll be out there, like he said, in the cold, in our hood gear, whatever it's going to take. We are going to feed those people a full course meal. Not no hot dogs, okay? We talking about food, okay? I think the menu already has been set. It's going to be some chicken, barbecue baked beans, and macaroni, or maybe smoked cabbage, one or the other. Okay, so we're gonna have a barbecue for City View. We bringing the people out. We're gonna feed y'all, and then anybody who wants to help with the other stuff that's taking place, just hit up me or Clarice, and we'll definitely have a place for you to help. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all, and thanks for tuning in to get today. And like Miss Daly said, we are in this together. And again, shots out to Sister Remy Dortch for being brave enough to be the person to say something. And she says she really appreciate the time we are spending on this. Yes, Sister Dortch, we love y'all. We love the Dortches, and it's all love to y'all. So peace, and be looking forward to that that flyer for the barbecue at City View. All right. Love y'all.